Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about some differences between specialist academic journals and generalist academic journals. This is not something that I really learned about as far as I remember in graduate school, but this is something that I have learned more about as I have written and published in various venues. I'm also going to do a video about how to write for these different journals, different approaches, and different sort of strategies for being successful, ways to approach each of these. It's worth noting that I'm going to be talking primarily about English and theater studies journals because that's where my particular expertise is. But this will apply in any discipline. This is going to be as true for sociology, psychology, economics, biology, chemistry, education, nursing, any kind of discipline. There will be specialist journals and there will be more generalist journals. Specialist journals tend to be very, very focused. What I mean by that is you likely have a smaller group of people who will be reading them, and they will be people who are in that narrow field. So, for instance, journals like Modern Drama, the Journal of Dramatic Theory and Criticism, Comparative Drama, these are specialist journals. The people who read them will be theater studies, drama studies people. These are not journals that are going to be drawing massive audiences from across the disciplines. They publish about theater, they publish about drama, they publish about performance studies. That's it. They have a narrow focus which allows for specialization. On the other hand, you've got more generalist journals. Things like Humanities from MDPI, things like Limina, which is another one I've published in. These are intended for broad readerships, multidisciplinary readerships. So you're not just drawing people who work on theater studies. For instance, if you're publishing in Limina, this is an interesting one because they're sort of run by an editorial collective of grad students from multiple disciplines. So they have they have history people, they have literature people, I don't know what else all they have. Here's my cat. Hi, Frank. But they also expect that their readership will be diverse in that way from across the humanities. This may be arts people, this may be literature people, this may be even social sciences people like sociologists, psychologists. So they are looking at a broad... Get out of here, cat. Stop sticking your butt in my face. So they're looking at a broad audience who brings a wide array of disciplinary knowledge to that journal. Then there's things that are in between. Things like, I would say, PMLA and South Atlantic Review, which is a regional MLA journal. These kinds of things are semi-specialized in that they are humanities journals, but they are not sort of broadly conceived humanities journals. For the most part, the people who are reading, for instance, PMLA are English and modern languages people, because that is the focus of the MLA, which publishes PMLA. So it's useful to sort of know these different sort of scales of journals and to be familiar with the different levels of specialization, in part because these will give you a sense of what you can expect from reading these journals and how focused these the articles published in these journals are going to be. It's also useful for you as a writer to know where your article may fit. So, more specialized journals are typically going to demand a higher degree of knowledge from readers. They are more likely to publish pieces with jargon, disciplinary terminology that may or may not be well known to people outside that discipline. They're more likely to publish pieces that depend on readers to have a certain amount of background knowledge on that subject matter. For instance, if I publish in modern drama, for instance, I probably do not need to explain who Bertolt Brecht is, what the epic theater is, what the alienation effect or the distancing effect is, because these are things that are ubiquitous. This is a person and a set of ideas that is ubiquitous throughout theater studies. It's reasonable to expect that somebody reading a publication like Modern Drama is going to know Brecht, or is going to at least be familiar with Brecht. On the other hand, if I'm publishing in a generalist journal like Limina, for instance, I can't assume that readers are going to know who Brecht is, and so I may have to explain that. And so with generalist journals, you're more likely to have concepts explained. So that's really beneficial, actually, for readers, especially early career scholars, grad students, undergrads even. If you can draw from generalist journals, right? Because if I'm writing about Brecht, again, theater studies people are going to know who Brecht is. History people, arts history, they may not. That name may not carry the same resonance for them as it would for the specialized audience of a journal like Journal of Dramatic Theory and Criticism. So that's one distinction. As readers, if you are comfortable operating within the sort of jargon, the terminology, the set of ideas of a discipline, a specialist journal can be really beneficial. If you're less comfortable, a generalist journal may be useful. This is also, again, a good thing to start thinking about in terms of yourself as a writer. Where does the work that you are producing fit? Are you a specialist who's capable of sort of hanging at often the highest levels within your particular subfield? Or are you somebody who's working with the intention of addressing a more broad audience? There is an interdisciplinary component to generalist journals that is often lacking in more specialist journals. Because again, if you're modern drama or comparative drama or something like this, you aren't expecting that history people, that psychology people, that economics people, whatever it is, are going to be reading your publication. Whereas if you're a generalist journal, you may be addressing all of those groups. So and again, there's a spectrum here. There's things that are more in the middle. But you, as a writer, want to start figuring out, where does your work fit at the stage you are in your career right now? And with your particular scholarly interests, it's worth mentioning. Sometimes this is a question of experience. Generalist journals in which you lay things out more explicitly may be easier for early career scholars to place in, because you don't necessarily have that disciplinary awareness yet. One of the things that you learn as you read more and more in your field is, what do people already know? What don't they already know? Frank's back. Yeah. And so as you're sort of figuring that out, publishing in more generalist journals may be beneficial because they give you more scope to be certain that you're explaining things clearly. But you may also have disciplinary interests that lend themselves to a broader or more narrow focus. If you're someone like me who really loves writing about whatever you want to write about at that particular moment, I've written about Caribbean poetry, I've written about contemporary horror films, I've written about Shakespeare, but I'm basically a modern drama and adaptations guy. Generalist journals may provide more of an opening for doing that. You can write for fields that are not necessarily your field as such. And it's a little bit easier to get in there because, again, you don't have to sort of have that sophisticated sense of what do people in this field already know? What are reasonable expectations for the readership of this journal? And that can make your life a little bit easier. So that's one of the things that you want to try and sort of feel out for yourself, is where you are in your career, in your specialization in this field, and with the approach that you're taking. And then you want to look at how these different journals operate.